he has owned them. His numbers are comically good against them. So I'm with you, Dan. I think he does
different defensive
feel it.
coordinators, different head coaches, different defensive system. It hasn't mattered. It's the color, it's the logo. For whatever reason, Josh owns the Dolphins.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, presented by Connors and Ferris. We are here in Miami. Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We always appreciate it. It's also the first time we're ever all at a road game where you had to fly to. Is this game a big? Is this game a big?
Miami.
Is this game a big deal? I'm kidding.
Buffalo Plus is here. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, this game's a big deal. Now we want
Catalana's here. It's a big deal.
Yes.
That's the big one.
Yeah. We want to note that we are recording this before the Steelers game, so obviously the Steelers' outcome will dictate some things for Buffalo.
Yes.
Bill's still trying to win the division, but let's talk about 5 players that we are watching.
Don't fall over there.
We woke up at like 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Dan, I'll start with you.
How about that Josh Allen guy?
Yeah.
We'll start with him. Especially because he's looked average the last...
Pedestrian Josh Allen.
Pedestrian, human, not superhuman Josh Allen. The last 3.5 games, he didn't really have to do much in the Dallas game. Chargers game wasn't his best, and then obviously we're starting to understand more, obviously with the shoulder and things like that, but it's also he injured his finger at some point on his throwing hand last game against the Patriots, because he talks about it, that he was just off. But if there is ever a team that Josh Allen can get right against, it is the Miami Dolphins. He owns the Dolphins, 10-2 all time in his career, 39 total touchdowns. It's just phenomenal. He owns the Dolphins.
He does. And I think the one thing, though, that Josh talked about this week is past results don't indicate prior outcomes.
Yeah,
no, hold on. I messed that up. Past results don't dictate
Future
outcomes. We got there.
Yeah, I'll buy it.
He does seem to play very well against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But in this moment, I think we all believe that Allen is capable of stepping up and playing way better.
Oh, 100%. Last week, he did say the ball wasn't coming out of my hands.
Yeah.
And I said to you guys, I've never heard him say that.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard him say I played lousy, I made dumb mistakes, I made bad decisions. One thing that man can trust is the way he throws the football, right? And he missed digs deep, missed a couple of short ones, just wasn't sharp. And the week before, still made plays. He made the amazing play against the Chargers in the air, throwing it off no feet, like you said, on the play. So we know he's still Josh. And the week before that, he didn't need to do anything. All that being said, they need him to be Josh. And if he's Miami Josh, well, against Miami, whether it's here or there, it doesn't matter. Even the game he lost here last year in the heat,
on the
he
surface
threw
of
for
the
400 yards in that game. So, look, I think if you're sitting here thinking, big game, Bills, Dolphins, Josh and Tua, even Dolphins fans got to be thinking, Josh has done it multiple times before, even going back to 2018 when he did that.
Yeah.
So he's had some big games against him.
A lot of confidence in him bouncing back, especially in the spotlight, and especially.
Hold on, Dan wants to say something.
No, she was
I
like
was
trying.
I was
so
trying to
you were
talk.
trying so hard not to look at me so that
No,
I couldn't
that's
get another
not
point.
true.
In. It's just the fact of when
He
Josh
was
says,
so eager, though.
when Josh says previous outcomes don't. Damn it.
Previous results don't dictate future outcomes.
There it is.
Oh, my God.
But there are some players, whether they walk
Syracuse.
into.
Fredonia. I was going to give you Oswego. Why don't I give you Oswego?
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
I think there are players that have a certain feeling when they walk into an arena. I think there's golfers when they come to play at a course. I think there is something about it of having the confidence. It's a hell of a drug.
Mm-hmm.
And just knowing, like, I'm going to perform my best. And I think that whether it's, you could have that in the negative side too, if a team owns you.
Well, a little bit. He's got a little bit of that with the Jets.
Yes.
And now that's a great defense,
Correct.
too. But, I mean, even at his best and his best years, the Jets have had a good defense.
They've been the thorn in
they
his
really
side,
have been. And he's had better games against the Patriots.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had a perfect game against the Patriots. And then he had that game in Foxborough.
And he had to get over
when they
that in New
needed
England because he lost his first 3.
Right. So, I mean, he's done that. Miami, I mean, he has owned them. His numbers are comically good
Comically
against
good.
them. So I'm with you, Dan. I think he
Different
does
defensive
feel it.
coordinators, different head coaches, different defensive system. It hasn't mattered. It's the color, it's the logo. For whatever reason, Josh owns the Dolphins.
I never thought about that, but yes, like as a former athlete, when you would go to a certain spot and you'd be like, I'm not afraid of you. I know that I will rule you type of thing.
Things can change, but whether it's the atmosphere, the team, you just have that aura of like, I'm going to ball out today.
Yeah, I think my confidence is knowing that, especially this team loves with their back against the wall. I don't know if it'll be as pretty as other performances that Josh has had against the Dolphins, but at the end of the day, with what's at stake, I have so much more confidence in Allen being able to make the right plays at the right moments because A, we've seen him do it before, but B, we know what this team has talked about so much. And I think while they've played kind of a more vanilla style offense in these last couple of weeks, they haven't needed to rely on Josh. This is a spot where you do rely on him, and he's phenomenal when the lights are brightest.
And if you're going to rely on him, you need Diggs to be good.
Yeah.
And all
Player
this
number
other
2.
nonsense that has gone on and why he's not on the field and out of the field, he's going to be out on the field. He's going to get a lot of snaps in this game, and I think he's going to make big plays against the
agree.
Dolphins.
I would really like to see that, especially before if the
Yeah.
Bills make the playoffs, because you know the threat that Diggs is, and having him have his swagger back too a little bit. Like that's got to also play into
Well, 100%. And it's funny because I think about it. Like if we're talking about here going, yeah, we know that Josh is going to have a good game. I think he averages like 279 passing yards against the Dolphins.
Can he
in his
throw
career.
for 279 without Diggs having a game?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So we're sitting here and we're going, we're confident in Josh doing it. Why wouldn't we be confident? Somebody's got to catch nearly 300 yards of passes. I think Stephon Diggs is going to have some of that. I don't know if it's a 100-yard game, but I can see Diggs getting back to his 7 for 85 and a touchdown. Like getting back to it. I think Brady, McDermott, they're annoyed with these questions. I think it's like, look, we're winning. Why do we have to talk about Diggs' stats and his usage, all these things? I think they force him the ball, and I think they get it going this time.
I agree. I think they have been kind of frustrated with the narrative. And there's been this narrative, obviously, following Diggs for the entire season about him not wanting to be in Buffalo. All of these things. I think I just swallowed a bug. I'm sorry.
That is absolutely
We're
staying
keeping
in the
this in.
video.
But
You all right there, champ?
I want to see Diggs go off because I think, especially with what the Bills have at stake moving forward, if they were to make the playoffs, like you also need to have teams. You're going to respect Stephon Diggs no matter what, but you're obviously your level of attention, I think, unintentionally changes that much more when he's coming off a big game.
If you're the Dolphins, and you say, oh, we got Diggs to worry about, and the Bills somewhat take him out of the game plan, you're helping them out.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, he is still Diggs.
And that's the thing. You make the great point, and I think it's worth hammering home. It's not like they have forgotten about Diggs when he's on the. They handed the ball to him last week.
Yeah.
They're doing everything they can to try and jumpstart him, but for one reason or another, it hasn't worked for the last 2 months.
Well, and if he hits that 80-yard touchdown, it's Diggs is back, Allen throws
Not
for
worried.
a big yardage,
Yeah.
and everybody's happy. Now, like we said the other day, he didn't hit him.
Yeah.
He missed him. Josh missed him deep.
Because if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a wagon.
You love that one, don't
I
you?
love that one.
I mean, I get it, but I don't think
Well,
it's that.
there's
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, yes.
That has to do with your aunt and
yeah.
your uncle.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I do know
not
that
wheels.
one. Okay, let's talk a little bit about this Bills defense and the players we're looking out for. Terrell Bernard, Ed Oliver, but let's start with Rasul Douglas, Mike, because he's someone that he has faced off against Tyreek Hill and the speed that he brings. Obviously, Tyreek Hill dealing with that ankle injury, but he is going to be someone that his confidence sky high coming off the game he
And you
had.
know who else has confidence because of this? When Bean walks out with his Jordans, comes to midfield, Jordan, Bean and I are kind of similar.
It's my golfing partner, so watch be careful.
He is got a little strut there when he sees that because that was a
Huge.
phenomenal move to
Yep.
bring that guy in, and he's got size. He can make plays on it. Look, they've played pretty well, as we've talked about, against number one receivers
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
But now they got a guy who I believe can not just keep the guy down, can still make plays.
Yeah.
And Tua will put the ball in harm's way.
Yep.
He absolutely will. He can also burn you. I mean, and Hill can catch any ball and go the distance. But I love the way Douglas is playing. I think his confidence is infectious. I love the way the
agree.
other guys are kind of like, it's like, I can't do that. It's a little bit like, I don't think like that. Or, it's like a guy's got to have that feeling that I can make a play. And so far, knock on wood or whatever's around us here, he hasn't, as a Bill, he hasn't gotten beat on one of those plays. And when he's been around the ball, it's in his hands. He had 2 last week. He could have had 3. So I think he's been a phenomenal pickup, and I think he's very important for them, short and long term.
Yeah.
Longer term, and by long term, I mean for next year.
Yeah, under contract for next year.
Yep.
I think what he has added, we've talked so much about, but I think, too, it just gives you that little bit, I don't want to say a security blanket, but at the same point, you have a guy that's, like in basketball, when you feel like the hoop is, that big, where you're just like, shoot or shoot, and he has been making everything.
To Mike's point, too, when Bean makes that move, it's one thing to make the move and guys know what he can do, but then it's another thing to actually go out and do it. And I think that gives, like you said, I think that gives Ed confidence. I think that gives Floyd confidence.
And Benford.
Yes.
No question that guy has played better. He has absolutely
Rasul's
played
play
better.
On defense is kind of like when Josh gets going offensively. It's like everybody's going to benefit from
it. A rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
Hey, you got that one.
I got it. I don't know if you saw me, but I dialed in before.
That's it.
Yeah, I just think, again, he is not necessarily the traditional shutdown corner.
Right.
Like a Sauce Gardner or something like that. He is a gambler. He will get beat, and it just hasn't been relative this point. And Mike, also, go back and think about number 1 wide receivers, whether it's Devontae Adams or Garrett Wilson or CeeDee Lamb. Like a lot of guys, like number 1 wide receivers have really just gone for like 5 and 50 against the Bills. Sean McDermott has done a really good job. He's talked about it too and asked, like, defensively, when you start game playing, like, you try and take away the number 1 wide receiver. It's easier said than done, but you want somebody else to have to beat you. Make somebody else that's not named Tyreek Hill beat you.
I think McDermott does deserve a lot of credit because
Good
I
thing
don't know,
he didn't fire himself.
I don't think we have talked about that enough to see where his defense is at and
Phenomenal.
where they were in the middle of the season. But someone who we've also...
Just real quick, one other thing I want to say. You heard McDermott say he's never seen a guy like Hill in his entire career.
Yeah.
He's coached a lot of defense for a lot of years. While we're saying all this, that guy at any moment goes 80. I mean, that's the thing about him. If I'm Miami, I am figuring out every way possible to get the ball in his hands because we don't know about Waddle. We don't know if he's going to be playing, but Hill is a game breaker. He can do it no matter how well your defense is playing. So I think if you're Miami in this one, you're taking your shot. I think they're really, I say force it to him. They can run him. They can run him on jet sweeps, anything to get the ball in his hands.
Might as well. I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would if
With
I was him.
this game also means for the Dolphins, too. I mean,
Yep.
they haven't won the division in a long time. So, while we were talking about McDermott and this defense, also Ed Oliver. Like, I love what Ed Oliver brings to this defense. The season that he is having, and you talk about a guy that just... I feel like the plays that he is able to make, Dan, I mean, we talked about the interception, like last week, the athleticism that we saw.
Yeah.
He is someone that I think it's like a snowball moving down the hill of where that continues to grow and you see the results and they're going to continue.
Yeah, whether it is in the run defense, whether it's pass rush, whether it's interceptions, like Ed has done it all really. Joked around that he's underpaid. He's a guy that has, it used to be he kind of needed somebody alongside of him to kind of really break through, whether it was Jordan Phillips or they talked about Daquan Jones and it was like, well, Daquan's hurt, like that affects Ed. Didn't affect Ed. Ed is a one-man wrecking crew all by himself right now. And again, Tua will hang on to the ball. He loves his first read. He will hang on to the ball. I still have vivid memories of 2019 when A.J. Epinesa almost broke him in half with the sack. I mean, the Bills have gotten after Tua. And it all starts with Ed because no quarterback likes pressure right up the middle.
I'm a little disappointed in Ed. He's gotten pressures, run
Hasn't
defense.
returned anything?
Yeah, he's got the interception now. No touchdowns, Ed.
And I took that personally.
We're calling you out, Ed, because
he's got
watching.
great sellies. He would have a great celebration.
Oh my gosh,
Can
We called him out about
watching.
We called him out about his Euro step after the sack.
Yeah.
It was one step too many.
Travel.
It was a travel.
Yeah.
He said he had to do another step just so that we knew it was a Euro step. He goes, I didn't want you guys to think that I was just skipping.
But he's at that level now.
LeBron.
Refs will give him that extra step.
100%.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think Ed gets
He
away
takes
with
off from the 3-point line, just 1, 2, 3, dunk.
Siren action.
Coming to get you, Cottrell.
Final player, Terrell Bernard.
I think he's so important to this defense.
1000%.
And we talked about it on the podcast where the way he can drop into coverage,
Yep.
his athleticism and his instincts. And you guys know, you watch Tua. Like, there are flaws in Tua's game, but when he's in rhythm and he can make that throw across the middle, he trusts his receivers, sometimes to a fault. But if you get a linebacker that understands that coverage, and when he drops into coverage, he gets back far enough that that's almost an impossible throw. Because you can't drop it over him, you can't get it there before him, and he's an athlete enough to make the interceptions and make the plays. I think he's vital. And the other thing is, McDermott can turn him loose and send him, or at least the threat of him coming in on the blitz too. So he's been phenomenal all year long. And pressure in the middle, coverage in the middle is so important against these Dolphins. He loves the middle of the field.
Yep.
I think he's a huge part of what they're going to do tomorrow.
I was thinking about when we were doing this players to watch in week 4, and I would never have had, obviously, Rasul Douglas on there. I don't think I would have had Ed Oliver, and I wouldn't have had Terrell Bernard. But where the season has gone and what they've been able to do, Dan, it is pretty incredible.
Yeah, they were really good in the beginning with Milano and Trey and Daquan Jones, and then they were bad in the middle, and then obviously adding those guys. But it's one thing to add them, because we've seen players get added to this team. Naeem Hines never really was able to integrate to the offense. To have these guys pick up speed and to get there in this system, credit to Sean McDermott to finding the correct way to use them. Inserting Terrell Bernard has just been massive for this team.
Yeah, no, it's true.
You all right there, Chip?
Everything
Sorry. You got asked to do radio on Monday morning.
Oh, man, you're so
That's
popular.
probably not going to happen. We're flying
Because
back.
we're flying back on about an hour and a half sleep. Some idiot booked these flights for
Who
early.
is that
I feel like
guy?
I'm on an hour and a half sleep right now.
We kind of are. It's going to be a fun weekend, though.
Yes.
We'll have plenty more coverage. We'll have a video tomorrow. There's
Keys
a
to the
game
game.
tomorrow.
Keys
Yes.
to the game maybe we'll do.
Yeah, I think that's good.
And also, if you are in anywhere really central or upstate New York, Albany, Rochester, Buffalo, Syracuse, 10:30 Sunday morning, we'll be doing a live show, Buffalo Plus Live. That's a TV only for that one. We'll be doing that coming up on Sunday morning.
Look at that. All right, thank you for joining us. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really does mean a lot to us. We do really, really appreciate it. For Mike and Dan, I am Jenna. We'll have, like we talked about, plenty more coverage. Thank you for tuning in and watching Buffalo Plus.